Hey everyone,
Hi.
how's everyone going? Shauna, do you have everything done on your upcoming flip?
No, the title's not clear still.
How about everything that you do before you get started?
Oh yeah, I'm good to go. I think I do have a question for you though.
Sure.
Um, there's the wall between the living room and the dining room
Mhm.
already has two small openings in it, and so on one side of the wall is a lot of duct work. So do you typically like make the opening symmetrical, or should it just be opened as much as it can be?
Always open as much as it can be. Move ductwork
Okay.
if you need to.
All right.
In general, like what I found is when I cut corners and only open it a little, it doesn't sell as well as things that are just completely blown open. People love that. It makes it look bigger if it's a smaller house. It makes overall feel of it feel a lot bigger. Um, I open things up. I move ducts. I do whatever it takes to make sure I can get the open layout. It's usually highly important.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Just for Shauna, just to give you a little feedback too, is if you have your budget, you have your layout done, you think all that's real clear, then I'd post it to the group and let me review it because like even me today, part of how I'm getting great results is I get other people to review my budget and review my layout and get second opinion, third opinion, whatever it is. Even at my level, I do that because I know that well, the best budgets that are done correctly, yeah, get multiple opinions because one person just doesn't have the ability, especially someone that's never flipped a house. So obviously you would benefit from it greatly because you would get my feedback and you would get the whole group's feedback. So I would once you feel like you got that pretty dialed in, post it to the group and maybe send me a text and let me know you did it. And because I don't always see everything on the group, but I'll jump on there and take a look at it. Everyone else can look at it and love to get like a discussion around it going. And then obviously I'll give you some great feedback on it just to see if there's anything you can optimize.
Yeah, because my measurements were a little bit off when we talked and stuff, and so I still want to make sure I can still get that master suite where the kitchen is and
Mhm.
stuff. So I'll definitely do that.
Okay. Yeah, I'd love to see it. And then it's really, I look at some stuff two or three times and then before I make a decision. If I don't think it's great yet, I just keep looking at it until I can optimize every inch of the space. And me and Tanya have been doing that. And Steve's been participating in that too. So the three of us look at everything and kind of figure it out until it works. And then it ends up turning out great anymore. So I wasn't putting that kind of time into it before. And that is definitely one of the areas that I would say you put a few hours in of work before you own it, and it pays off big time on the back end from being able to manage your flip, from being able to get the most money when you sell it, just everyone being on the same page. Um, Anyhow, yeah, we'd love to see it. Let me know when you send that off. And other than that, sounds like everything's going pretty well.
Okay, that sounds good.
Awesome. Ken, how about you? How's everything going? And Kim also.
Oh, I'm good. Like I said, I got another architect yesterday, so he's gonna meet me on Friday, and I'll have some demos started probably either Friday or Monday.
Perfect. I mean, that was awesome because, yeah, $7,500 made the 2,500 sound cheap, but it sounds like they probably get paid pretty well down there. 2,500 is more than I spend, but in DC, I'm sure they just get paid a lot more down there, and that's just kind of the way it is. Since anytime the county or government makes you do something, then people get paid more money for it. Well,
Yeah.
in Maryland, you have some options of doing it yourself, and you don't have to have an architect. So yeah, it sounds like that's fair if he's pulling permits and doing a couple things for you. What we'll make sure we have to you is just what we think your initial drawing is, and then so that way I know we'll kind of look at it and just see what we think the best thing is to do, and kind of make a decision, send it to you so you can, when you're walking with him, you should have some clarity essentially.
Cool. Yep. That'd be great.
And once you get all the drawings from him, obviously, any architect usually will let you look at them and then make sure if there's any revisions. So obviously, feel free to send them to me just to make sure you're good with everything. The good news is once you get all that approved, if you make a small shift or change, generally, it's not a big deal. long as it
Right.
isn't like, completely like moving anything crazy, you should be fine. It's all about just doing it. So anyhow, yeah, we'll work on that, and I'll make sure you have that back, before Friday, sooner or later, and say Thursday. Okay.
Cool. Thank you.
Awesome, man. Ken's got a great flip in DC. It's a really awesome house and beautiful street. A very big, 17-foot wide. It's going to be a great home. Somebody's going to love it. And it's a good area. So it's cool stuff going on there. Kim, how's everything going with you in Seattle, Washington State, now Seattle? Real far from there, I guess.
Yeah, pretty far from Seattle. But I still MLS, struggling to find deals there. But I do have a meeting with a seller that I've been working with that I got from a direct mailing long time ago. And we have excellent rapport. Actually 2 years now. They've been trying to get their tenant out of this house, and now they are in the eviction process and all of that. So I'm meeting with them Thursday morning just to, they've been, checking in with me all along the way and consulting and asking me, what I need in order to, get them their offer and everything. And we've already discussed numbers. So I'm going to see if I can get them to sign a contract on Thursday morning. If not, it'll just be more rapport building with them. And so it'll be it's in an area that we're not crazy about. It's a pretty rough area, but it's an okay house. And there are, the good thing about that area is that there actually are comps in that neighborhood, which has been very difficult for me, just finding, comps. And so there's even a few on the same street, which is mind-boggling because that doesn't happen here.
It sounds like that might be an area worth considering, like prospecting, because what I found is so this is true in Maryland too. You see that we have a lot of opportunity, but when I'm searching in areas that are definitely somewhat sketchy. I wouldn't personally live there, but there's comps. That's all I really care. If there's comps, then I'm good to go. That's how I determine whether I'll invest or not. When an area gets really bad where you shouldn't be investing or flipping in is when there is no comps, because like nothing's actually selling retail. The only comps you can find are like, as is comps being sold to other investors. That's usually when an area dips below like what we would call like the minimum viable to do a flip. So if you're finding plenty of comps and they're, retail, somebody's put renovation into them, you might have actually just found the area that might be your surge area to focus on. Because not being crazy about it is basically just doesn't matter. I mean, it's where would you make the most money? And for me, I'm not crazy about the area. I ended up doing I've done 200 flips in one area, and it's 35, 40 minutes from me. And honestly, I wish I could do everything in my own personal neighborhood, but I've done probably 10 deals in my personal neighborhood out of 1,000. And, I'd love to I've done all 1,000 there, but obviously it just doesn't work that way because my area is too good. And there's not, and I'm not living in a high end area by any means. I'm just living in an area that's very desirable for first time home buyers and, working class people. So there's not as much opportunity there. The areas I tend to do best in are the ones that are like, like you get little quiet streets and nice little house. And you look at it and say like, who would live here? But like totally people are buying them all day and living there. And so you're like, the answer to that is maybe not me, but plenty of people are willing to do it. Doesn't have to be me necessarily. Well, that's the area I'm investing in making the most money, because what's perfect about that area is when you're dealing with sellers, well, they know that it's a little sketchy, right? And that's good because you want them to have a little bit of a diminished like opinion of their neighborhood. And if they have that, like, this ain't so great, it ain't, it used to be better, like, that's who you want to buy from. But then there's someone, and this is what I've learned, is there's someone who lives in a neighborhood that's even worse than that neighborhood who's happy to live in that neighborhood. So when we used to do stuff in Brooklyn, where I grew up, which is a bad neighborhood, they call it the White Ghetto, that's the nickname for it. Well, there's the neighborhood next to it's called Cherry Hill, and it's all black. And it's bad. Like, we're bad too, but I would say Cherry Hill is just a little worse than us, right? And it's always been bad. Brooklyn's always been kind of wild too, but not quite as bad as Cherry Hill. So we found is the people we sell houses to, we rehab in Brooklyn, are people from Cherry Hill. Like Brooklyn's one step above Cherry Hill, but both shitty, but one step above. So people from Cherry Hill are more than happy to buy something in Brooklyn. They look at that like it's way better than where I grew up. It's actually kind of, because you can get little quiet streets in Brooklyn that aren't so bad, and they're happy to live there. And that's, so it's always about, is there a neighborhood in Glen Burnie? People from Brooklyn love to move to Glen Burnie. Like everyone that lives in the area I live in now, which is Glen Burnie, Pasadena, most of them lived in Brooklyn at some point, or Curtis Bay, or some area that was rougher, and they moved up. Right, they move up to the next neighborhood above them. So when we get to these areas we're not so certain about ourselves, there's often people who live in a worse area than that would move to it. The comps will tell you whether that's true or not, by the way. This isn't something that we just make an opinion about. The comps actually, if there's plenty of solds of people are buying retail houses, that those solds look very consistent, and that means somebody from somewhere is very happy to live in that neighborhood, and that's all that matters. So that might be a better area for you. So maybe by getting this deal, maybe you discover something. Maybe it's worth looking into. Because I have to tell you, the areas I've rehabbed in are not areas I personally want to live in. But totally, I don't want to live in them, but I don't mind making some money in them. They're not bad to get killed in them, but there could be like the random crackhead walk by or something.
Yeah, I think there's plenty of that, and sex offenders and all of that in that neighborhood. But there's some decent little homes, and there's been some nice rehabs, and I think I can pick this one up for between 50 to 60, and it's it's got a strong ARV at about 180.
Oh, sweet.
Maybe that's even conservative, but it needs quite a bit. It's probably got a $60,000 rehab.
Numbers sound pretty solid on it then.
Yeah.
So, I would actually tell you, have you been looking at MLS in that neighborhood or no?
Yes. Yes.
So maybe there's no MLS there, but even if we decide to do some paid marketing, it's all about doing it specifically in the right neighborhood. Because I found this out with just letters. If you're sending letters to the neighborhood you want to be in versus the neighborhood you should be in, like I did a letter campaign one time, and I did it for 6 months, and I got 3 phone calls from it in Glen Burnie. Now, one of those I ended up working with for a year, like you, and just staying in contact with them. And finally they called me, and I ended up getting the best deal I've ever done. That, if you probably heard me tell the story about the first house I bought with crazy foundation issues, that I took a $55,000 estimate back to them and renegotiated $55K off the price. And I bought a house that I sold for $280. I bought it for $55,000, put $100 into it, and sold it for $280, and ended up making about $108,000 on it. So today, it's still my biggest profit I've ever made on a flip. But it came from a campaign that we were doing with a bunch of other campaigns, and we got 3 phone calls from it in 6 months. So yeah, I mean, can you imagine waiting? And honestly, we stopped doing it. It took 9 months after we stopped doing it to get the deal to come back, much like yours, right? It was the long game for sure. So marketing in Glen Burnie it's not instant gratification enough, right? And there's probably areas for you where it's the same thing. Like if you were to market to them, you just wouldn't get enough phone calls or enough, you wouldn't get enough repetitions to stay and have good momentum with people. Now you might still get deals, and like I did, you might still get that 2-year later call. And but ideally you want to be in an area where people, they're motivated enough that they're calling more often. So we go to Hamilton, or the area I like to work in, it's 40 minutes from me. It's sketchy enough that when I send letters there, I do PPC, I do any kind of marketing, it tends to do pretty well. But if I do it in areas that are closer to where I live, they tend not to do as well. Now, sometimes I might make those areas all part of a campaign, but the foundation of my campaign should always start with an area that I can get a predictable result from. So doing Glen Burnie, I get 3 calls in 6 months. I can't make that the foundation. That could be a little bit of what we call the extra marketing that we do to kind of, some extra sources. So if you only could choose one, which most people can only choose one because they don't want to spend $10,000 a month. If you can only choose one, you find the area that's most highly likely to get you deals because it's bad enough that people want to sell and good enough that people are still buying. And totally sounds like you have that there. And the fact that you think it's a little sketchy actually makes me more excited about the neighborhood because the comps suggest that it's sketchy, but people still are buying. So that is the perfect dynamic I found in any neighborhood, is when it's just bad enough that you can buy, but good enough you can still sell. And like Nikki's doing a house in Linthicum. The reason I haven't done a lot in Linthicum is because it's pretty one-sided in Linthicum. Everybody wants to buy. Nobody wants to sell. Everyone knows their value. No one's like, the neighborhood's going down. The neighborhood's done nothing but clearly go up. So no sketchiness, right? Even Ken has like an $850,000 house, and there are some kids sitting on bikes the next block over who, with hoodies on, it look like they might be doing some weird shit. Who knows? And then there was some white dude in a van, and some guy, I don't know if he was like, sounded like I was talking, he was a sex offender. He actually had like a camper, and he was like a yuppie with a camper, and they looked like they were going to camp. And then there's some people walking dogs and jogging. It's a big mix of people there. Like, but it's an area where enough people want to sell who've lived there and always, grew up there, because, it's gotten a lot better. So you buy from the people who are like, yeah, I want to move to South Carolina, Atlanta, Florida, and kind of get out of this little row home in DC. And I can cash in and get a bunch of money for my house, 400 to 500,000, maybe even 600. And I can take that money and buy an awesome home in Florida or something, and then sell it to some developer like Ken's doing, and that's going to renovate it and sell it for a lot more. So we're pretty much see that in areas that used to be kind of rough, but are getting better. And so at some level, like you said, there's nice little homes. I've got areas that I work in Baltimore that are like, Tanya goes there and she's like, are we really buying a flip here? And I've done like 70 here. And I'm like, it's not as bad as you think. It's a little weird on the outside streets. When you get into the neighborhoods and stuff, it's like, I don't know. There's just a market for it. I don't question it because it ain't I don't have the right to question it. My job's just to pay attention. So yeah, let's talk more about it. I know we have a call today, I believe, right? This afternoon or tomorrow afternoon. I'm not sure.
It's tomorrow afternoon. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, it's in my calendar, but yeah, we have a call. So we'll discuss that more. And wherever you decide to work, you always want to be focused in on the areas that are going to yield the most. And so great little feedback for everyone, right? There is certain areas that are going to yield you a lot more opportunity. And there's areas that you can get deals, but you're going to work really hard for them. If you decide you're going to work in an area that you're going to work really hard, then you just have to put a plan together to really step it up and outperform anyone else who's competing for your deals. How that happens, by the way, just for everyone that's on the call, and Nikki, she'll appreciate this because she's in an area it's a little bit tougher. How that happens is doing exactly what you just said. Like, you've been talking with this person for 2 years. A lot of the deals I've done in like good neighborhoods have been, started a discussion, and I followed up with them once a month for 8 months, 9 months, and then something happened. Like one time it was a probate, and her daughter was living there, and she was like on drugs and stuff, and they got her to go into like a rehab. And they were like, we want to sell it while she's in the rehab. She'll be out in 30 days. So we need you to settle it and do all that within 30 days. Because if she comes back out, we know she's going to move in. We don't know how to say no to her. So we want the house gone before she gets back. Because she'd been living there, and it was a train wreck, right? So it was a train wreck of a house. And I've had that particular situation happen quite often, where people, like, because I had been in communication with them, when that perfect storm came together and the timing was like, we need to move this now, they had no one else to think of but me, because like they were like, who else will we sell it to other than Kim, who's talked with us on a regular basis, or Mike, who's checked in to see how everything was going once a month for last year. My first deal that I did from marketing took me my first deal took me 7 months from the first letter I think I sent out, because I was just messing around. And like 7 months later, it was the first wholesale deal I did, not my first like real rehab. But it took me 7 months of following up with these people one time a month for 7 months. And then it's the same thing. They're like, she's moved out. We put her in a rehab, and, we want to sell it before she gets back. That was my first deal. And I ended up signing it to somebody for $16K. So it took quite a while of, I tried some letters before I got with a coach, and I didn't know what to do with them. But the only thing I got right was I kept following up. And the only reason I followed up, honestly, is because it was I grew up in the house across the street from it. So I knew the lady who was on drugs. I knew her. I knew her boyfriend. I knew all of them. So I kind of knew the family, essentially. So I was following up because I felt like I knew them. And but what I learned from that was, like, that long-term follow-up is epic. And with the right people, by the way. You don't want to take your time to follow up with everyone. People say follow-up is where all the money's made. It's a pretty true statement, but the little thing I would add to it is that follow up to the right people is where all the money's made. Following up with people that have no desire, no situation to sell, they don't have any motivation, never will have any motivation, that's a pretty big waste of your time. But there's often deals, like, I think Samira's not on the call, but she had a perfect deal where she was messing with this guy for months, and then she ended up getting a deal from him, maybe a second deal. So, like, yeah, she ended up getting some love from him because she'd definitely been talking to him for like 3 or 4 months. And it's not uncommon, by the way. And when you put a little invest, but you want to invest in the right people. Don't invest with people that are just wasting your time. Because often people want to sell to you and they're okay with, they just need more time to work through details. So we get that a lot of times when people aren't returning your calls or they're not showing up to your appointments. They're doing that not because they don't like you or like anything, like what you do. They're doing it because they're not 100% certain about what to do and they don't want to meet with you knowing that you'll expect a decision, and they don't really know how to make one at this point. So I'm sure, Kim, your people were in a place where they couldn't make a decision. They were trying to get tenants out and they're just like, so they're probably getting closer to the point where they can make one now. And then, so now you're talking to them at the exact right time.
Yeah, it's actually their own, his own stepdaughter, and she is on drugs, and she thinks she owns the house, but she doesn't. And they've not, I just helped them along the way, and I told them they need to get control of their property. And and she said, well, what's our next step to getting you in there? And I said, well, she has to be out, because she's your problem. And they've been wanting her out anyway for a really long time. So, and then they just keep coming back. They have an attorney and they're doing it all through an attorney and everything. And I said, now just let the process take its course. It's out of your hands. Let the process take its course. And once she's out, then we can move forward. And so.
Something I'll talk to you about in the future, and this is, I'm going to just add something to that for everyone. For many years, my rule was that you had to give me your property vacant. I would say I did that for the first 6 or 7 years I was flipping. Like, you get them out, I'll buy it from you when you get them out. What I found is even more valuable, and I wasn't willing to do this because I didn't really have a team around me that made this easy, is buying the house with a tenant in it, and I'll take care of getting rid of them, right? But at the same time, I'm going to make you give me a huge discount for it. At least making that offer, you'd be surprised how many people are like, yeah, I'll take 40 if you get them out. And then you usually can get them out for like $1,000 to $2,000 in a couple months of time with an attorney. You can get them out no problem. So like, yeah, that's something to always, like, again, I'm not saying you should have done that here. I'm only saying when I give advice, it's always like, consider all options, right? And then maybe in this scenario that didn't make sense. Maybe in another one it makes sense, or maybe it doesn't. Your job's always to consider all angles, because sometimes, like, if that's truly someone's pain, I've gotten some really sick deals where people are like, yeah, we're not messing with them. They're crazy. And we'll sell it to you like a huge discount if you just take it with the tenant in. And I was like, no problem, because what I figured out is you can go get an attorney, you can get someone to handle it all for you who specializes in getting problem people out. And it may take a couple months, but I got like a 15, 20K discount for a couple months time and $1,000 in legal fees. And I was like, great, right? You're basically able to solve a problem someone else can't solve. Now, I've also lost some deals when I was like, you get the people out, because some other people came in and said, we'll get them out. And then they stole the deal from me at a cheaper price. So that's when I started considering like both options. I mean, if they're going to do it anyhow, let them do it. But, if you can, I always like to at least give them the option of me taking it at a deeper discount and I take care of all your problems. I know there's probably a decent amount of deals I've missed in the 7 years when I wouldn't do that I could have probably got if I was willing to take that on. Because again, I mean, legal battles are never fun, but I have to tell you, it's not that complicated. You pay a lawyer, he takes care of business. He'll handle all the headaches for you. In any state, even the worst states, with DC happens to be one of the worst states in the country to get a tenant out. But even in that state, it's just a 3 to 4 month process, sometimes 5 months max. And that's about as bad as it gets, by the way. Some states you can get it done in a month. Often when you start eviction processes, though, what you find is you have the ability, this is what happens 9 out of 10 times. Once you have legal paperwork that comes to them so they know you're seriously evicting them, you can approach them and do cash for keys like 9 out of 10 times. I've done probably 20 evictions now because I started buying on the courthouse steps, where one of my strategies was I'd buy occupied properties because I had a good team. I found a lawyer who can get them out. I knew the cost, and I often would get a substantial discount because I was willing to take that, that risk of getting them out. And yeah, most of the time it's a very quick process. It's not, a couple months max, like never more than like $1,000, $2,000. But what happens most of the time in the process is that's why 9 out of 10 times they either leave or you can give them a couple $1,000 to leave. Like $1,500 is usually what we give people. We've given them as little as 500. I don't think we've ever paid more than 2, just in general, because they're going to leave either way. It's what I tell them, like, hey, you're leaving either way. the question is, would you know, in good faith, we'd like to help you, you know, have a nice smooth transition, maybe give you some support, moving, stuff like that, or we can wait for the, you know, the sheriff to come and throw your stuff on the front lawn. We don't like to do that, and I hope that you don't want that to happen either. And if so, then let's have a conversation and talk about how we can get you out and we can help you, and you know, we all feel good. And then some people are like, most people are like, okay, I hear you, and then they come to a conclusion and work it out with you. Every once in a while, we've had like 2 people who are like, F you, you know, the police are gonna have to throw me out on my head. And they did, by the way. They ended up getting thrown out on their head. One was our 7-day flip, just for funny story. Our 7-day flip, the people, Dave talked to them 5 times, and the 5th time they're like, Dave, get off my porch, never come back. We are never leaving this house until the police throw us out. And we were like, the police are coming in 30 days to throw you out. Like, you got all this stuff in here. Let us give you a few bucks and get you out of here. We don't want to throw you out. And then when the cops came there and threw them out, they were running on their lawn saying, I can't believe no one told us. Like, why would you guys just say, you guys are awful. How could you throw us out like this? You never even told us. And we were like, first of all, we told you like 6 times. Like, and you, over like an 8-month period, it was the longest one we ever had, because it didn't have anything to do with like it being a hard process. We hired a new attorney to do workforce. This was before, and they just sucked at it, and they were making like, they just weren't that good. And we were busy with a million other things and not paying attention to it. So it took a really long time. So that was the longest, was 8 months, but I think on general, usually 3 to 4 months is about as long. And that wasn't a standard transaction. I've actually gotten them done in a month and a half in the same county, in AA County. So I've gotten them done very quickly. So something to consider. You know, I know it might not be a fit for this one, but in every deal, consider whether you can get people out for them. You might even consider, like, if you sign a contract with them tomorrow, just, you know, say, hey, look, I'll make a contingent upon you getting them out, or at least this way you would know it's sold, and as soon as you get them out, we can settle. You know, anything that makes them comfortable and gets them willing to sign the paperwork is the key. So, because if they don't want to sign, then you get an opportunity to go into why they don't want to sign and what their fear is, and see if you can overcome it. And if they have something, if you can change something or modify something in your offer to make them happy and get them to commit to you, then that's what you want to do. Because once they commit to you, like, and get past that fact or whatever's holding them back, then you're going to likely get the deal.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Good luck. Yeah, good luck.
Thanks.
We'll talk tomorrow. So.
Okay.
See, so we got a couple new people. One, so Nikki, Steve, LB3. I don't know who that is. Les Broadway, maybe. Oh, Les Broadway 3, maybe. Maybe you got on here twice. I thought it was like the new quarterback for the Redskins. I didn't know. Like, I remember him joining the program, but what's up, everyone? Anybody have any specific questions you want to jump into? I have a question for everyone else. How'd you guys like that contractor funnel training that Delante did? For everyone who was able to make it.
It was really good. It was really helpful. And I told him so.
Yeah, what he was teaching you is very, very new. We've been teaching it to our higher level students for a while, and he taught you some of the updates that me and him have discovered over the last 6 months of testing it and using it, and you know, other students using it, and getting more specific about the ad and kind of weeding people out is a big way to help. Like, it's just something that's working like gangbusters right now, because everyone's saying like, I need a general contractor, and you just get all these calls. But when you're like, I specifically need a guy to do windows for $100 a window, you cap it and caulk it, and I'll pay you $100 a window. You literally, like, 9 out of 10 people look at that ad and say, she's effing crazy. I ain't working for her. We don't care about them. We only care about the one person. It's like, oh, cool. Yeah, I do it for 100 window. That's what Lowe's pays me. Awesome. I'll work for these people. Great. We're just trying to attract the one person that matters. That's it. No one else. So it's awesome. I mean, that's the same thing that happens when people post on like the Facebook groups locally and stuff. We find that like 9 out of 10 people berate them, tell them that the number's too low, you'll never get it done for that. But somehow the students always end up getting it done for that. And because, you know, they got to be able to handle the 9 out of 10 people that tell them they're crazy, so that they can get to the one person. It's like, yeah, that's standard work. That's what people get paid to do windows. Because, see, subcontractors understand the pricing, but like, there's no standardized pricing in this industry. So, you know, it's a matter of opinion. I think it's one thing that's missing in the construction industry is a way to standardize the time and pay for it. Like, mechanics have it, and I feel like we should have it, but we don't. And it's kind of the wild, wild west when it comes to contracting. People could charge you $15K or $3K. It's just whatever they think they can get away with. So it does become our responsibility for us to understand the details and how to get things done cheaply, affordably, and know what's real, what time it should take. And I think I was telling this to Nikki when we were in Costa Rica, a window crew of 2 to 3 people can do 15 to 20 windows a day. And if they're getting $100 a window, they're going to make 1,500 to 2,000 a day. Now, a window crew leader, who is the company owner usually, will hire people for around $200 a day, and he'll get a mechanic, like a real good window guy, for $200 a day, who can really produce a lot of windows every day, done really well and done correctly. If he does 15 windows in a day and he pays 2 people $200, it's $400, and he's left with 11. It's $1,100 a day. Let's run the numbers. That's $250,000 a year to make 2 windows. It just requires that you can do 15 windows in a day. I've seen people do 20, 21 windows in a day. So like 15, if they're harder, it's a little more complicated, so they'll average 15 to 17 windows a day, and they're making like good money. My friend Jody, who passed away like 2 years ago, that's what he did for a really long time. And he made great money doing it. And he like literally he lived in a bigger house than me, by the way. I mean, totally had a better house than I do. I think he was always a little strapped, but because he was spending every bit of his $200K, and his wife actually made like a decent amount of money too. So the 2 of them had a very nice home and all that. So yeah, it's a very respectable living doing $100 a window. But if you put an ad out on a Baltimore Investor Network or Craigslist, and you tell them like, hey, I want windows done, and then you let them tell you the price, you're pretty much going to get everyone to tell you you're crazy at 100 a window, because it's going to feel that way, because the 9 out of 10 people who think you're crazy, well, they're going to be the loudest, right? They're going to be the ones that you hear. And then the little guy that's all quiet in the background who wants to do it for 100, you won't even hear him, because he's going to be drowned out by the 9 people that are squawking and saying how crazy you are. And so your job is in your ad, and this is a big update to it, is to weed everyone out in your ad that you don't want to talk to, by saying, this is my specific job. Here's how much of it I need done. This is the unit I pay, this much per unit. If that works for you, feel free to call me. We can do a job together, and then we'll have a lot of repeat business for you in the future if your quality of work's good. And you will then get only the right people for the most part. There'll be some weirdos that call you anyhow, even though they want 300 a window. But you'll start attracting a lot of better people, and you'll be able to get away from all the people that are going to talk crazy stuff to you and try to convince you that no one can make money doing windows for $100 each. That's what a guy that does 6 windows a day says, not a guy that does 15 a day. There's a crew that knows how to produce. They're like, yeah, no problem. 100 days, great. But a guy does 6 windows a day. Now he's got the same mechanics for $200 a day. Now he can't even afford to put gas in his truck. So you can see why he would never do it for $100 a window, because there are people, I know this seems crazy, but there are people who literally do work at a third of the pace. I'm very fast flooring installer for years, and there was a guy named Fast Eddie in my flooring company, and I had 2 people working with me, like 2 helpers, and I think I paid 100 a day each, and they were pretty good. They knew a little bit of stuff. They could do some stuff and help me, and we would get probably 300-400 square foot of floor done every day. Fast Eddie could do 400 foot like by 1 o'clock in the afternoon by itself without 2 other people. And when I heard about that, I was like, they're full of shit. There's no way. And then at some point in my life of doing flooring, I got to work with him and team up with him. And well, he's a freaking machine. I'd never seen anything like it. And the guy just like, he was my first mentor, like inadvertently. He wasn't teaching me, but by working with him, I was able to see what's possible. And when you see somebody else who literally knows the most, he didn't spend 1 second doing anything. He didn't smoke a cigarette. He didn't take breaks. He didn't everything he did was about the fastest way to get to the next point without any waste of time. Right? He did nothing that took any time. He just nailed, and stuff was flying everywhere. It was no I don't know. He did nothing that wasted time. I'd never seen anything like it. He was producing literally 3 times more than me. And I was not considered slow, by the way. I was considered reasonably quick. I could do, there's people that were half as slow as I was. But so now think I'm in the middle ground. I'm pretty fast and efficient. I was making about 125K a year doing it at the pace that I was doing it. There's people making 50, 60K a year doing it because they were half as fast as me. And then Fast Eddie by himself making 200-300K a year by himself doing flooring for a store as a subcontractor doing it, and what we got paid, by the way, we laid hardwood flooring for $1.25 a foot. Fast Eddie was making 200 to 300K a year at $1.25 a foot to lay hardwood floors. So when you ask me how much does it cost to do hardwood, I'm going to tell you like $1.25 to $1.50, and they can make really good money doing that because we were nailing down hardwood, which takes twice as long. But what people are doing today is the floating floor, click together stuff that takes half the time. Like we literally can do that. If I can do 300 foot a day of hardwood, I can do 600 foot a day of floating floor. So at $1.25, I make double the money. What I eventually figured that out, and I stopped doing nail down floor and I started specializing in the floating floor because it paid double essentially. So yes, if somebody wants to do $1.25 to $1.50, that's fair pay for someone that knows what they're doing. Like even if you got someone as fast as me, but guess who you couldn't hire? You can't hire the guy that's half as fast as me. Now, if you find Fast Eddie, like Fast Eddie would gladly come and knock every one of your houses out for that money, and he would high five you and say you're the best boss ever, right? He'd make you feel good about yourself, and that's the kind of contractors we want: people who know how to do things fast, right? Fast Eddie. I never got as Fast Eddie, by the way, but I did get 20% faster after working with him. So just being around him for like, we worked at a 3-day job together, and we was like a really huge job. And he's like, it's going to take more than just him by himself. I'd like you to go help. And I was like, yeah, I'll definitely help him. I just wanted to see him work, right? Because I thought it was like a myth. Like I was like, people are bullshitting, right? There's no way this is truly possible. And I worked with this guy for 3 days, and I was like, I'd never seen anything like it. And honestly, we were picking up techniques, and I literally like, that coming year after that, I ended up making 160K a year. It was my best year ever in flooring, because after working with him, I was able to get more done. So I had a great year after that. And then I got all crazy and started trying to like start my own company and everything. And obviously then, there's a lot of new stuff I was doing. I got away from what was working. But so that's the truth with everything in life, right? I mean, I'm like Fast Eddie at finding MLS deals, right? And then everyone else is probably not. And so you want to learn how to do everything fast, and you want to do it in your business that way. And you want to find contractors who can knock a window out quickly, not taking all day, smoking cigarettes, and then the caulk looks like crap. Those people awful, right? They're going to make you feel like a headache. And so Ray just found some awesome people. Michael Chow's actually just fired a guy he'd been working with for like a couple months, and who was driving him crazy, and he had to micromanage. And he's like, I heard what you said. I think I'm just going to let him go, and I'm going to find better people, because Michael Chow was only doing a couple rehabs. I mean, he's doing about 8-9 rehabs a year, and he's like got not a minute in a day. And the reason why he has no time is because he's working with people who eat all his time. And Ray found out when we were in Costa Rica, and a couple people as we were in Costa Rica learning, one of the takeaways was that when you have the right people doing work, they don't need you. They don't need you to actually call them 3-4 times a day. They don't need you to, they're missing something they need. They're like, I'll go take care of it. I got it. You just empower them, and they make stuff happen. They're rainmakers, right? They make stuff happen. And, but most of the time, the first person we're going to find is the person who is a succubus, who just needs can't figure anything out on their own. Their intelligence level is like 20. They're I don't want to be mean, but they're close to like probably mentally retarded. And I'm not saying that as like to be rude or anything, but they're, from an IQ level, they're probably not very, it's like a 50 or something, which I think is really close to being mentally retarded. You need someone with some average intelligence, someone who legitimately can look at something and fix it and be like, yeah, no problem. You don't have to be Einstein. You don't have to have 150 IQ to figure this out. I'm telling you, if you have a 80 or 90 IQ and you care, right, you can go in and figure some stuff out. I think construction, it's so crazy. I think construction could be, for a good person who's solid and can think a teeny bit, construction is one of the biggest opportunities out there that nobody wants. You can make so much money working in construction, and there's people go to, because it's not very desirable to be a construction worker. But right now, if your kids are like, I don't want to go to college, getting them into learning how to do electric, plumbing, construction, HVAC, just different stuff, they can make a lot of money. Even just working for house flippers, you can make, there's a lot of my guys make 200+ K a year with I don't know what education they have, if any at all. I don't really care, honestly, if they can do the plumbing. I don't care if they can't read. As long as they can do it, what do I care, right? As long as they can get stuff done. And but what they all do have in common is they have a high enough level of common sense that they can just figure a handful of things out without calling me 14 times a day. So that's what's great about it. I think it's one of the biggest opportunities out there. I'm telling you this now because when you're talking to a contractor, that's something you want to be able to talk to them about. You want to be able to share how big of an opportunity you think, them being a contractor is, if they can figure out how to work within your system. Because see, if they can work within your system, they have a big opportunity to make some real money. But if they're not open to learning how to do things faster, right, improving, and being more like me or Fast Eddie, right, being a little faster at what they do, then they're not going to be able to make any real money. If they're going to keep slowpoke status is not going to be hard, never going to be able to work for anyone who's not overpaying. So that's some higher level stuff about contractors and your overall excitement about hiring them. Know that everyone who's good can make money at the prices that I quote you and tell you is my standardized pricing. All my people do really well. And what's crazy is I know people who charge double and don't make anywhere near what my guys make. It's actually a really simple math model. The reason they don't make any money is because they charge double. They take twice as long to do it. So when they're charging double, they make the same thing as my guys make, even though they're charging double, because they take twice as long to do it. So a 2-day job takes them 4 days. So effectively, they make the exact same money. But why they don't make the same money as the people that I hire is because when you charge double, you have a hard time finding work. So where if they come to work for me, say at $100 a window, I can keep them busy. I can refer them to anyone in the group. Like, oh, Sean, you need a window guy? I got a guy, $100 a window. I can refer to the group. I'll keep that windows guy so busy that they'll be crying, right? They'll never have to worry about work. But the guy who charges $200 a window, guess what he can't do? He can't find work all the time. So he ends up making the same money as the $100 when he does work, but he only works half the time. So like if a window guy at 100 can make 150K a year, he's going to make 75K a year because half the time he's sitting at home twiddling his thumbs trying to figure out what to do. Don't know how to make any money. That's just the way it is. So like that business model is what we can explain to people, that you can actually make less money if you're faster and you want to stay busier consistently. And when somebody has two good mechanics that they pay $200 a day, well, they can't work them 3 days a week or 2 days a week. So they need 5 days a week to keep them around. So it's a better business model. What do you think? When I was a contractor, my biggest struggle was finding work. It's always my biggest struggle. So I always kept my prices low, and then I kept my schedule booked out. That's how I solved the problem. I got faster so that I could make the same money, and then my calendar was always booked out. I never had a problem staying busy anymore. But when I tried to charge too much, I didn't work a lot and I ended up making less money. Funny enough. It's kind of how it works. So it's nice that if a contractor understands that, then that's how you get them into your standardized pricing and get them their head wrapped around your pricing. But for every one person who's going to be like, that makes total sense, Les, I get what you're saying, there's going to be 9 or 10. They're like, no way, dude, that's crazy. And they're going to be very convincing. So our job is to ignore them, pay attention to me. I promise you, I'm not sending you in the wrong direction. Every student I've ever worked with who's followed this has figured it out. And you don't instantly figure it out because it's going to be a little bit of a, I guess we call it like coming to God. You have to have where you got to spend some time with people and get through your crap and, your fear of like people rejecting you and all that. We all have that. So it's all stuff we work on. So any questions on any of that or anything else that's important?
Oh, hey, Mike.
Yeah, Mayor.
Hey, I've got a question. Like for the basement, I guess for the unfinished part, do you do anything to kind of make it look nicer, like paint anything, or just kind of leave everything as is, or put linoleum on the floor or something like that?
Yeah. I paint the ceiling black like we do in the finished place, right? We paint the ceiling flat black. I do that, and then I paint the walls white, and the floor is like a dark gray, like a shiny dark gray. So I do make it look nice. I do think in unfinished spaces, you should, obviously just painting the walls and the floor and the ceiling will make it look really nice, clean.
Okay, just painting. Cool.
Make sure you put a light in there, so that way it's not dark and scary looking. You don't want it to look like the murder basement where like, Dexter would take his kills, or, some serial killer has people hidden away. You want it to feel clean and nice. Any basement shouldn't feel creepy.
Okay, sounds good.
How about anyone else? Any questions? Contracting. We're getting into some of the contractor training. So Delonte kind of kicked it off with that. We had the budgeting. I'm going to put together a list. If everyone on the call could come give me some feedback on it, it's all the modules we're going to go over. I would like you to say, hey, Mike, give me some comments on it and tell me if there's anything you think I should add to the training. And we're going to start getting these additional trainings in. Some of them will be on our calls that we have, if it's relevant to the call, and some of them will be in additional times that I create. So we're going to do some infield trainings, a lot of Zooms. So there will be really a big uptick in extra trainings that'll be available for you, because I'm going to record all this and and get it into a nice training platform for you. So that way you can have the answers to like every high level thing that comes down to construction. So because everyone here, I'm assuming most people here, the hope is to get a flip. And once you get that flip, to be able to train and do everything you need to do, know how to work with the contractors. And it's not an overnight thing, by the way. Working with contractors takes time. It takes a lot of getting through your own stuff. You transform into the type of person that good contractors will work for. That doesn't happen like in a month or even 2 months. Often, Ray's been working on it for 9 months, and he just finally kind of cracked the code. Michael Chow's like 8, 9 months. He's finally getting to where, okay, I'm going to get the right people. I mean, the thing is, though, they went from not being able to get houses done and on time, rarely on budget, to being able to get them done on time and on budget. So that's our first step. A lot of times when people hear that, they're like, okay, that's it. Yeah, first we got to get you to actually getting them done on time and on budget. The next step is, once you start getting them on time and on budget, is to start doing that with ease and making it fun. Right. So that's the high level step, when you go from like, I can do it, but I got to work my butt off to do it. Like, I'm just like grinding it out. Like Samira's in that place right now where she's getting it done. She's grinding it out though. So the next level for her is to take where it's now gets easier. I think Nikki's kind of in that spot too. She's getting it done, but she's grinding it out. Right. And eventually where we want to do is we want to take and go from like, I can get it done. I'm getting my flips done. They look nice, but I want to make it easier. So that's going to be in what's called top grading your people and really building your systems out and getting a lot of that stuff in play. And it's following the systems you create. The number one reason my results will ever waver is when I stop following my own systems, because it's hard to sometimes, it's easy for us to decide, like, let me try something new for no actual reason, just a part of our human makeup that we like to do that sometimes. I do, at least, maybe not someone else. I think most people I've worked with, that's been the case too. I've seen that as being like a very real thing a lot of people do, and me included. So that's the next level of it. So we're gonna have a lot of that training. I'll put in the Facebook group, I'll put like everything up, and in the comments, if you can tell me anything you feel like's missing or you want to make in there, I'll make sure it's in the training and that we have it. And then as they come up, I'll start letting you know when they are, so you can participate as much as possible, or just watch the recordings. And Delonte, what he'll be doing is building out the whole training platform over the next 2 months, 2.5 months, however long it takes. So we're going to do a really cool deep dive. We already started, like I think Delonte taught you, is a very high level tactic that gets you abundant with people coming to you, and and it works like really well.
Hey, Mike, so the source for the standardized pricing, that's what's on the example line item budget. And is that correct?
That is correct. Yes.
That's the standardized pricing. Okay.
Yep, that's the standardized pricing. That's our price sheet. That's going to be what you want to use, is just to start with. You can tweak it a little as you start working through your flip, or if you see anything or something a little different in Washington versus Maryland. But I've worked with people all over the country, in Canada, like everywhere, and I've not seen the pricing vary that much. San Diego could be a teeny bit more expensive than, say, Baltimore, but Washington's it's really going to be based on price point, because everything's about cost of living. So if your flips are going to be $250K, whether they're in Washington or they're in Maryland, and if they're both $250K flips, then generally the people working will be working for similar pay, because everything's based on what does it cost them to buy a home and live. You put somebody in San Francisco where, like, a little 1-bedroom apartment is $900,000. That contractor is going to need to make more money to live and work there. So obviously doing like a San Francisco house that's going to be $1.5 million is clearly going to be more for labor and material than it would be to do something, a lot different. We've seen that with Ken's house. Actually, it's only about maybe 1,500 square foot row home, but it's like 150 to 170K renovation. My thing doesn't even calculate that, because in Maryland, we can't really get to 150 to 170K, but in DC, it's going to cost more. Like he got quotes for $7,500 to do architectural drawings. He thought they were crazy. I agreed with him, and they made a few more phone calls. He got it from $2,500. By the way, I pay $1,000 roughly for what he paid $2,500, and most people wanted $7,500. So you can see there's a little difference there. But for the most part, he'll be able to get a lot of the work done very similar, especially if he's pulling people from Maryland, because he is only 5 minutes outside of Maryland into DC. So the best thing for him to do would be getting people that live in Maryland and work in DC, because he can get the Maryland prices in DC, versus when you get too deep into DC, it's a lot of or you get higher end people in DC, they want to start charging DC prices, and DC prices can be higher, but for the most part, we can get things pretty affordably or pretty close to Maryland prices, as long as we're not dealing with something that's very specialized. So pricing on a standardized thing should be really accurate for you, Kim, and should be accurate for most people on here. And if not, you always make adjustments, but make sure you run those by me, because you don't want to make the adjustment based on what a contractor told you, because they're going to always tell you that you need to pay more. It's just like whenever I list my properties. I had 2 properties that when I was in Costa Rica, they were active. They're both under contract as of this morning. I've just got to negotiate them all out. And I looked at the feedback on both of them before I accepted it. And I got, 10 showings on one and like 13 showings on the other. And it was crazy how many people said price too high. By the way, one I had listed for 259.9 and I got 285 minus 10. The other one I got around list, minus, I got list minus some help. So I didn't get as much, but everyone's like price too high. But meanwhile, I got like 15K more, or 15 or 20K. No, hold on, 15K more, 275 I got. So 15K more on it, but everyone's like price is too high. So yeah, I don't really listen to that too much, because I feel like they say price is too high based on what their client can spend. Too high if their client's only approved for 220, 230, but they shouldn't have shown them that house. Well, contractors are the same way. They'll tell you their price is too low based on what they want to be paid, not based on what reality is. So yeah, we're not going to listen to them anymore. Marlo, I see Marlo, Steve, Steve, you got everything you need for Michelle and your permit runner and everything. Are you pretty good to go on that?
Yeah, so I was going to ask you about that, Mike. So I know Delonte sent the info. Does the permit runner, will he allow us to like shadow him? So we can kind of, because I want to learn the process.
Probably not. No, they do it professionally, so they probably won't let you shadow.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, man, can I shadow you? They might. You're always willing to ask.
Right.
But you don't really need to learn anything from the process. The thing she does for you ain't worth doing, honestly. She don't charge you that much to do it. She probably is going to charge you like $300 to $400. In the grand scheme of things, it's total. You have to take a day off of work to go do it. And she used to be the lady I'm referring to. She used to work for the permit department for 25 years. She's retired now, so she has a unique advantage over anyone, especially in AA County. That's where she was. So in AA County, she just walks in and just gets stuff approved without even looking at it, because they know her. She's been there 25-year employee, right? She knows everyone. So she understands the way they think, the way they work. I personally am like, I can go down there and figure it out. It's just not great use of my time. And I did it before I knew her. I had to do it. I just never enjoyed it. One of the reasons when people are like, Mike, why don't you pull permits on everything? Well, one of the reasons is back in the day, I didn't have a cool permit runner to make it easy. So I literally have to go down and sit there all day, make mistakes, come back. And it was like a freaking train wreck. So half the time when I wasn't pulling permits, it was because it was so annoying and I didn't want to do it. So I'm just like, you know what, let's see if we can get away with it. And eventually I got away with it so much that I was realizing like, holy crap, like they don't actually catch you most of the time. And I'm just like, cool, I don't have to go sit there all day, and I can get in and out faster. I don't have to deal with inspectors. So that's how accidentally I got pushed into not pulling permits. And now I look at every house and just decide, should I do it or should I not do it? Obviously on a house like yours, Steve, I do it every single time, because I think your chance of getting away with it are like 0 to none. Probably, you don't really have very much chance of getting away with it.
Right.
But
yeah, so I was going to ask you, Mike, because we were thinking about taking on Friday and going down there, but if we could just have her do it, then you would just have her do it. We just wanted to learn the process. That's all. But
so if you're working with Michelle, the way I guess Michelle, but if you're working with Michelle, she works with Bobby. They're a team, so you kind of have to hire one with the other. So it's been my experience of what they've told me. They're kind of like partners almost, a little bit of a team that works together. So Michelle does the drawings, but then Bobby will take and get them pushed through for you. So yeah, I would probably say just, honestly, learn on something else if you want to do it, or don't ever learn, because she's not the only permit runner out there. There's plenty. Now that I know they exist, I kind of recommend to everyone just pay a permit runner.
Mike, I do want to tell you that they did our permits for us, and they actually put the permit in the name of the previous owner, and TJ had to go down the county to get it straightened out. So,
well, you should have had them go down the county and get it straightened out, though. That was the thing. So.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
That was your bad for like, you call someone and say you put in the wrong name, go fix it. She could have fixed. She's down the county every day, so she could have fixed it for you without even breaking.
All right. Well, whatever.
She basically lives there. Yeah.
They put it in. They put it in the previous owner's name, and the county inspector saw it and made him go change it. I don't know. Maybe it was like we were like short on time or something, but
I don't know. I'm not saying they're perfect. No one is. I just don't care because I know that like she's going to get stuff pushed through. Like especially if you're doing like a dormer and stuff
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
for sure.
She
No,
gets that walk through.
they were definitely worth it. That wasn't even something that we even like thought to look at. You know what I mean? That was the only reason why I was mentioning it, because we didn't even think to look at it. The inspector's the one who saw it and said that.
Well, I never care about it either because ultimately, Nikki, I just tell her to fix it and she would fix it.
Yeah. Okay.
Awesome at that. You know what I'm saying? She would just be like, no problem. Because she's literally, the thing about permit runners, they're down at they're almost there like multiple times a week usually. Right? They're always in those offices. So like if you need something done, it's almost easier for them to go do it half the time versus you sitting there. So it's just, somebody makes a mistake, you tell them to fix it. And I've been working with them since I met them probably a year into the game, and I've been using the same people. Then there's other people that do this and they're pretty affordable like them. I don't personally know them, but I know a couple of my other students were using people that basically had the same dynamic going on. Like there was an affordable architect and, she basically was a permit runner. With all permit runners, if you find other permit runners, why I like you finding other people than Bobby is because Michelle will get busy and she's the person that does the drawings. She's not always going to be available. So if you guys find any other permit runners, the good news is likely they will have a cheap architect that work with them. Someone who can do drawings for, say, I think she charges us $400 to $500. If it's a lot of drawings like Nikki's, it's going to be more money. Right. But it's still cheaper than like, that really expensive architects that want a couple $1,000s to do drawings and take 3 to 4 weeks. Michelle, generally, if you give her something, she'll come measure it. She'll have it to you in a couple days, so a week at max. I've had architects that want $2,500 to $3,000 and they need a month to get it done. Like that's not really good for a flipper. Right? That's not who you want to work with. That's like a high level architect. So I think Michelle doesn't even actually have an architect's license. She just is truly an architect without the license. So she's almost like an unlicensed architect. And what she has the ability to do is she can, because for drawings, you don't have to be an architect. She just knows everything and she provides in a way that they're happy with. And that's why she costs like $500 to $700 versus like, $2,000 or $3,000. She also has somebody for a couple $100 that can stamp your drawings if you need structural. So it costs you like $300 for that. And the guy just stamps.
So Mike, I was going to ask you that. So with mine, will I need an architect or a stamp because of the roof and because of the back?
Maybe you might. I'm not sure. That's part of what.
Is that something that Michelle will be able to tell me, or?
Yeah, 100%. She's a structural engineer. She's an architect. She knows everything. She knows the loads. Okay. She knows how to get additions approved. Michelle knows everything that a high-level architect knows. She just never went and got her license because she got into this and there was never a need. So she was like, I can go to school for a couple more years and go, spend all this money to technically get legally certified, but she's making a lot of money doing what she's doing now. Because see, she's learned a niche, and her niche is she can bang these drawings out really quick, right? She can just bang the drawings out super fast and like do a couple a week, and she's making great money. And so she decided she didn't need to go like a different path. She loves doing what she does. So every permit runner generally has a connection with someone who could do drawings for, say, $300 to $1,000, fairly affordable, not crazy priced. And because that's part of the permit runner will always need the drawing person in order to really, they need that as being part of their team. So they generally, and if they're working with like the high level people at $2,500 to take a month, then the permit person will go out of business. So they have to have an affordable drawing person. So if anyone finds another permit person, you're welcome to use mine. But if you find another permit person, which I would suggest, then know that likely they'll have an architect working with them who is a makeshift architect, not some guy just built the World Trade Center or something. We don't need that guy. We need someone who just knows how to put the drawings together and get them approved.
Okay. And then Mike, one more thing. So with the roof, should I have the demo guys do the roof, or should I have the roof guys tear the roof down and then rebuild it? Like, how does that work?
I mean, get the demo guy, do as much as they can do safely, and then, yeah, probably be a combination of both, honestly. So, I mean, obviously the roof guy, really it's a framer, not really the roof guy as much. What you're going to need is once you get it demoed out a lot, there's going to be a framer that comes in and frames everything up. And then the roof guy will just come in and put some ply. And framer probably could even plywood and do the framing on the roof. And the roofer is just going to come in and do roof.
Okay.
So I think it'd be the framer it'd be a combination of the demo guy and the framer. It's going to happen. Okay. So the way we always do with demos, we demo everything we can safely demo. So if you have a bearing wall, I would tell you, like, don't have them take all the 2x4s out, but you can have them take all the sheetrock off and everything. You have that wall ready to go. So when the guy takes and puts up a new beam to support that wall, all they got to do is just knock out the 2x4s. What we don't want is that guy that's doing like a structural framing, who's going to be a little more expensive than a demo guy, we don't want him tearing plaster out and all little lathe and all little junk out of there. Let your demo guy tear it down to the studs and then just leave the studs up to support it on a bearing wall. So that's what you can do anytime you're wondering, like, what can I get demoed? If you think it's a bearing wall, Ken, this is actually relevant to Ken too, because I know he's getting ready to do some demo. So you can demo out everything. If you know you're getting rid of a wall and you think it might be bearing, just have them tear all the trim, sheetrock off of it, everything off of it down to the, just studs. And then, you can just let your framer, when they frame, they can actually, tear that wall out for you, because that's who you want tearing that wall out, someone who will know how to support it properly before they tear it out.
Okay. And then, Mike, can I get on the Home Depot account?
Yes, you can.
You want to talk offline about that, I guess, or?
Yeah, send me a text, and actually, I'm gonna show Delonte or somebody how to set you up so I can get it set up for everyone.
Okay,
I feel
cool.
like
Thanks, Mike.
like everybody's waiting on me. We're gonna crush Home
Mike,
Depot.
how do you find permit runners?
So any investment network group you have, anything like that, you can go down to the permit office and ask them, hey, do you know any permit runners or anyone that's in here every day? You can talk to people, usually a permit runner. When I met mine when I was at the permit office, I seen them talking to someone, and I overheard them saying like, yeah, I'll get the permits for you tomorrow. And some guy came in, they're like, hey man, I need you to get me some permits on something else. And then I say, hey, do you get permits for people? And they're like, yeah, that's what we do. And she gave me her card, and I was like, okay. So it seems like the best place to find them is at the permit office when you're there. But probably so you don't have to go through that headache would be, asking any investor locally to you, or, if there's like discussion boards on Facebook groups and like local Facebook groups, local like meetup groups and all that. You just ask, like, does anybody know a permit runner, someone who can run permits for you? And I love finding them because they always come with the cheap architect. And if you consider the fact that the architect, like what a normal architect costs, $7,500 is what Ken was getting estimates to do a row home in DC. And he shopped around enough and got it down to $2,500. But I think Nikki paid $1,500 for everything, for the permit running and everything, I think. Nikki, tell me if that's right. I'm to make sure I'm not giving bad information. I think it was like $1,500, but that was for the architect, the permit runner, the permits, and like all the, the stamps, everything she needed. It was like everything. So so it's nice when you find, think it was at $1,500 for your stuff.
Yeah, I think it was maybe a few hundred more, because we had to get that engineer stamp, which added like $300.
So like $1,800.
Yeah, about 1,800. Yep.
Well, that was for the permit runner and the drawings and everything, right?
Yeah, and the engineer stamp.
And the engineer stamp. So that's cheap if you really consider that. And you think about the permit runner's cost in there is like $300 to $500, by the way. Most of the money was the drawings, the engineer stamp, things like that. So the permit runner doesn't cost a lot to do that for you. And they generally are connected to people who save you tons of money. So the reality of if you go just to an architect, they generally are going to be like, $2,000 to $5,000 to do what Nikki got done, and take like 30 to 45 days to get it to her. Or I'm sure she got it in like a week or something. It was like quick, it was cheap in comparison, and there was a lot of other stuff baked in that got done for her. And yeah, finding somebody to do a structural engineer for $300, that's pretty unreal too, by the way. I don't know if you know this, but structural engineers, a couple $100. They won't even talk to you unless you're paying them a bunch of money. So structural engineers are outrageously expensive. So yep, you can find them in a local group is where I would start, Kim. Just start asking people, posting and saying, hey, if you even need it though, this is only going to be when you're making, you're doing stuff with permits and doing big changes. Most of the time, if you're just doing some basic stuff, you could easily run the permit yourself. Steve is doing a very complex house, and so did Nikki. So they both, a permit runner is highly effective in deals like that. Deals that just need a little bit of cleanup, 30 to 50K, they generally you don't always need a permit runner for that. If you were going to do the permit yourself, that would be a perfect time to do it. But anytime you're doing like a dormer or an addition, or the whole back of the roof's caved in, like stuff like that's when you really want to get someone to assist you. True for, it's also true. So whenever I think about doing it myself, just for Steve and Cinnamon as a quick little, you get CHAP credits when you're in the city. There's these CHAP credits they give you, which is a historical preservation society. And those CHAP credits actually add about 50 to 75K in value to your property because they freeze your taxes at a very low rate for 10 years, which saves you a lot of money. And, often 7, 8K in taxes a year. And times 10 years, 70,000 bucks. So people legitimately will get $50,000 in value of that often for depending on price point. Now I was like, you know what, I'm gonna learn how to do a CHAP credit myself. And me and my assistant did it on one house. It went really well. And then we did it on another house and, thought it was going pretty well. We got to the end. We're like, hey, we need a CHAP credit. And they're like, oh, well, your assistant forgot to check this thing off. And I'm like, what do you mean she forgot? Well, what do we do now? She's like, we can't do anything now. We can't give it to you. I was like, what do you mean you can't give it to me? So a house that I had sold, I had it on the MLS with the CHAP credit because I thought we were all good like usual. I'd sold it for 500K and I had to actually reduce the price down to 450,000 to sell it because I messed up the CHAP credit. So that was the last time I ever tried to do a CHAP credit. There's a guy named Neil Junker who is a local CHAP credit expert who will charge you, I don't even know what he charges, maybe $1,000, $1,500 to go do it for you. And I only need it one time in my life where I lost 50K to make him worthwhile. Plus, honestly, like there's a lot to it, right? There's a lot of working the system essentially. So Neil's a master at working the system, getting you approved. He knows all the right things to do and say. So yeah, these are very specialized things that are worth paying for when it comes to CHAP credits and comes to running permits. Now, if it's a simple thing like, basic permits, you can do those online most of the time. They're really simple. We don't use a permit runner when we're pulling basic building permits. My project manager can do it online in 10 minutes. It's really simple in Maryland. They actually just created that recently. It's where you can do it. You don't have to go down to the permit department. We just have them do the stuff that's more difficult, that's going to be, we don't want to go there and mess with. And I'd recommend you do the same. And so cool.
Hey Mike, real quick, that CHAP credit. So I actually met with my lender yesterday, the property, and he was touching on the CHAP credit, and he kind of had mixed thoughts on it. So, and I'm pretty sure that we can get it in that area. So, what are your thoughts? Should we go ahead and go with it?
I mean, if you can get it, you're crazy not to. But I didn't see any of the solds that you had have a CHAP credit on them.
Actually, so what are we? 56? I think 64 in the same row actually sold 2 years ago with a CHAP credit. So.
Okay. And what about the ones we looked at were like 295? Where any of them have CHAP credits on them?
I don't recall seeing it.
Okay.
But I was going to verify. But he said it could be a pain in the neck. He's like, it could be a lengthy process. So I just wanted to run it past you to see what your thoughts were.
So I'm not the expert. The guy I would call is named Neil Junker. I mean, I'm sure you can look him up online because I don't know anybody else named Neil Junker. I don't think that's a common name. So I'm sure you could find him like Neil Junker tax credit, CHAP credit, and he'd come right up and you get his phone number and call him. I probably have his number somewhere, but he's the guy to call, man, and just ask him because it's not a lengthy process for him, but you're not always qualified for it depending on how bad the house is, what work. You got to be able to save something. Why they're giving you the credit is you're historically renovating the home so you can save stuff. I don't know if you've got anything you can save in that house, but I've seen them give the credit where you just save a railing and maybe some windows or something. So
that's what the lender mentioned. Yeah, he's like, maybe you can just keep the steps and that would qualify.
Yeah, legitimately.
What he said.
Maybe, exactly. Neil would be able to tell you that if you can get the CHAP credit, you're always going to get more money for your property. He's going to charge you $1,500 or $1,000 to get it. I don't know what the cost is. You can check him. It was reasonable. I never remember it being like, outrageous or scary, but you might be getting an extra 10 or 20K for the house if you can get your taxes like jammed down. And, it's definitely going to be a big selling bonus. But yes, you'd want to talk to him. He'd likely be able to tell you and give you advice on what you can or cannot do, how long it would take. You wouldn't want to do it if it's going to take forever. And you'd also want to be able to kind of maybe send him a video and say, hey, man, here's the video of the property. What do you think? And he'd tell you what you'd have to do in order to qualify for it. If he can get it for you and you can spend $1,000 or $1,500 to get it, I'm sure you would get 10 times return on that probably. So yeah, you should definitely consider it. Where he's saying it's a headache, I'm not saying it ain't a headache. I'm only saying that if you can get 15K for 1,500, there's nothing that's that big of a headache. I'm in for that usually. So CHAP credits are always awesome if you can get them. And
okay. All right. Cool. Thanks.
When he does them, they're more awesome than when I do them. I do them myself. It's like a freaking train wreck because I'm not going to become like he's been spent his last 10 years doing this. Like he's become a master of this one thing. That's all he does, by the way.
Yeah, I think I found him, Mike Neil Junker. So I think I I see a
Yeah, I
4 on the
imagine.
corner, so.
I imagine that's the guy. It's guy. Yeah, he usually comes up easy. It's not like trying to find Mike Green. It's a lot easier to find Neil Junker. So
All right.
he's the chap credit guy that like he's the only guy I know that specializes in it.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Cool, man. Hey
Hey,
Les, who's this?
Les.
Les, dude, that's like we're like on the same page. I literally just said your name and you were like, "Hey, Mike," and I was getting ready to ask you, what did you think about the house you went and seen?
um, it's an awesome house. It's huge. I made drawings of it. I didn't know if you had a chance to look at them. I only sent them a couple hours ago.
I have drawings and everything for you too, by the way. So I actually had someone do drawings for it already and budget and everything. So because I'm putting it under contract to buy it for myself. So it's something that I believe I have drawings and everything for because I'm almost positive I do. I'll check and see. But yeah, let me take a look. It had when we were looking at it, I think we realized it could be like a 6-bedroom, 3.5 bath, pretty easily. So it's
Wow.
going to be an amazing house.
I mean, it's a 6'2" the way it sits. The weird bedrooms in the attic. And
So
then
maybe it's a 5, 3.5, or maybe because I figured we could put a half bath on the first floor, and I think we could have taken 2 of the bedrooms and made a master suite that would have an additional bath, and so it would take it down to 5, 3.5 then, which I think that's where it ended up. I'm looking now to see if I can see your drawings.
that's kind of what I did.
Cool. So we're probably on the same page.
It'd be
I
nice
think.
to have feedback on it, but yeah. So when you told me about it on Friday night, I was able to get out there Saturday after work. I got there around 7:30. So it was dark already. Took me too long to make the drawings because there wasn't any light, but I got to see the corner store right there on Oakfield. I think that's the road. So a lot of foot traffic, things like that. And at a certain point, I was able to notice that there was a guy who was serving, folks in cars that would pull up on the corner there. I wasn't sure.
That's the neighborhood, by the way. So that's what Kim was just talking about a little bit. That area. Robert, one of the higher level students, does all his flips in that area, and it's definitely going to be one of those areas that's got a little bit of wild stuff going on. Now, we were thinking about trying to sell that for like $205,000. That house, if it wasn't on that street with the row homes, sells for like $240,000-$250,000. So it's a really aggressive price that's going to be making up for its location.
Okay.
And also, because I went really far back and I looked just on that block and I found things that sold for like 210, 220 that weren't quite as big. And I seen things just a block away that sold for 240, 250. But the thing that I teach you in this mastermind is not to get like tricked by the 240, 250s that are a block away because it's different, right? This isn't as good of a street as those streets, but we're going to make up for that with our price because someone's going to see your house and be like, why they're looking around and they're going 1 block away and it's 240, 250. And they're like, this is 210. There's row homes across the street, but who cares? Those row homes across the street, by the way, are selling for like 160. So I'm assuming that 205, another 55K for a house that's like literally 3 times as big, way better. I mean, it's a really nice house to be about a 5-bedroom, 3.5 bath. I'm thinking you're going to be able to hit the people who can't afford 250 and 240 in that neighborhood. So you're going to hit the people that are like, I was going to get a row home, but for a little more, for another $100 or $150 a month, I could actually maybe $200 a month. I could get a big single family. That's the people we're going to sell to. So I think 205 is aggressive. You could get more. I think that's conservative, but I always want to be conservative whenever it's a street that I know that with the row homes makes it not as good as the one that's a block away when you don't have row homes. And drugs being served on the big busy streets is normal for that neighborhood, by the way. That's the neighborhood that Tanya told me. Remember, I was telling you earlier. She's like, "You do flips in this neighborhood." You heard me say that earlier. I was speaking of that neighborhood, by the way, because we had another house that we bought on Oakfield or Oak Hill, actually, that we're under contract with, and it's a super bad house. It's like needs everything. It's the worst house I've ever bought, probably. But it's I got a pretty good price on it, but I'm not sure if it's even going to go through. But anyhow, she's like, "What are we doing in this neighborhood?" But when you get back on the streets, it's fine, but on the main streets, it's not. But this is just an area. It sells like crazy. You can see if you comp it, you can see there's tremendous amounts of solds. They're all going to, all those houses that are selling for that money are connecting to the busy, iffy streets. right? So there's no houses away from it. Essentially, it's not like, oh, well, that part of the neighborhood's really far away from it. No, everyone is no more than a few blocks away from like some crackheads or people selling drugs or crazy shit. But they somehow sell for a lot of money, and I don't question it. Robert's built his whole business around that neighborhood. He's made 75K on his last flip he did because he got a really big one back on like a quieter street, and he got like over 300,000 for it. I think 320 to be exact, or
Wow.
315. So yeah, 200 is actually, with a house that size, 205, 200 is a really strong price. That's going to get a lot of quick action on it.
Well, no, I'm definitely I'm excited about it. Which is why I sent the drawing. So, if we get a chance to talk offline,
well, let me see the drawings now. I'll take a look at them. But I just looked. Well, what email did you send them from?
Mickey G. I sent them from West Broadway 3, I think. Sent on my phone. It could have come from the other one.
I don't have one email from that. Let me see. So I don't know if you could send them again. Maybe they didn't come through. Let's see. Can you take care of this? Let's Broadway 3. Nothing's coming up. So.
All right. Which email do I need to send it to? Just
Mickey G is the perfect email. I just didn't, for some reason, it didn't come. When did you send it? Do you know when you sent it?
It was earlier this morning, maybe around like 9:30, 10 o'clock. She said Mickey G at Gmail, right? Just make sure.
Mickey G flipping at Gmail, yes.
Okay.
Some reason it didn't come through. I don't know if there was some kind of error or something had happened. But I'm looking back this morning and nothing came through. Unless it went junk or something. Let me take a quick look at my Google Drive and just see if I have the drawings in there.
I did just send it again, so I'm hoping that one comes through.
Should. Let me give it a second. Then at the same time, I'm going to see if I actually have the drawings.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I do, because anytime I wholesale, I usually do drawings and everything. I treat all my wholesale deals as if I'm going to do them, because if somebody doesn't buy them, then I do them. That's the difference in me. When I wholesale, I don't actually buy stuff. I won't put stuff under contract I'm not willing to buy usually. Unless there is times when I buy stuff strictly for wholesale, but not like this. Because I'm saying this house here is it's HUD, and I don't want to mess up my relationship. I buy a lot of houses from HUD, so I don't want to like not settle and lose my deposit. So I buy something from HUD in general. I'm not like, well, if no one buys it, I'll just give my deposit up. I usually want to just put stuff under contract that I want. So this is a house I'll actually do, and especially because of the price, it's actually a fairly affordable price.
Is that driveway between it and the 4006? Is that a shared driveway, or is that?
I think it's shared from what I've seen. I think it's a shared driveway.
Okay. I
think they're sharing it to get to the back. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what all I could figure out, because it looked like to me like they were sharing it. I'm looking at your email now, see if we can find it. Yep, I got it. I got that one. So I don't know what happened. Maybe it just didn't come through or something.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Let me share my screen so everybody can see. See what we got going on. Okay, so here's your drawings. And I actually walked this one personally with Tanya too, so I've seen this one in person.
So that's the original right there, the first floor, the way it sits now, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then the next page is I did all 3 floors in the basement, and then there are 2 pages that are going to be the first floor after rehab.
So that's this one, or no?
That's that's this one right here. I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Okay, so I get rid of that wall. So it's dining room table. What's the circle there? What's that stand for?
Like a table and like a couch, just like a front sitting area.
Living room. Okay, got living room. So you got an island and kitchen. That works. And then what is this thing here? What are you doing over there?
Spare room leads, out to the back door, and you got a bathroom. It could be an office. You could make it a game room. You could do
what is this thing?
I made that the living room in the front. Just as you come in the house, you can see where the front door is there.
So what is this here, though? Is this the front room here? Oh, that's the living room.
So couch up against the wall where that window is, and then up against the staircase, I put like a 60-inch TV or something. And
so definitely we can get more rooms or something down here, because you got all these space. It's dead. Like this is all dead, and the front door is in the front here, right?
No, the staircase in the middle of the house on the side. The front door is on the left, right there. Those little hash
Right
marks.
here.
That's the
Right
front door.
there. Okay, awesome. Okay, so cool. So you would walk in and you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20,
It's 26 front and back.
24, 25, 26. Okay, got it. So that works. That would mean you can make that work easily, especially since you got all this extra space here. Then you go to this left, and does this go upstairs or anything right here or no?
That stairs up and that open space.
Stairs are right here though, right? Is that correct?
Yep. Those are stairs going up to a
Okay.
landing, and then that blank spot is the other stairs going up to the second floor.
Okay, so got it. This is all stairs then.
Yep.
Right
Yep.
here. Okay, and then the back door going out is here?
No, the back door going out, you see where I put the half bath at the back?
Yeah, that's the back door here.
The back door going out.
All right, cool, because I see what we can do then. Now, is the half bath not here now?
Yep.
Is it there or is it not there?
Yeah, that's the half bath there. I got rid of the full bath they had down there, you know, the one with the shower, the stand-up shower, and moved that.
So, okay. Yeah, so that probably works. What I would consider is getting another bedroom on this floor somewhere, because this is all wasted space here. This is really kind of wasted space too. So, you know, instead of just having like, this isn't big enough for a bedroom here, but maybe over here it is. Even if you just did something like that and made a bedroom right here, and have a hallway to the back door. I mean, and then this, I don't really know. You could put pantries here. You can do anything, because you do have your living room over here, and this all becomes your big living room, dining room, kitchen opening, and then having like an additional living room. Maybe, maybe not. I mean, I would look at it. I feel like we had a layout. I know we have plenty of space here, but if you get an extra bedroom here, that might be how I was getting it to 6 bedrooms potentially, because I remembered 6 in my head and thinking I had a lot of room for bedrooms. But let's take a look. So you do have a master suite, master bath up here, and bed, and hall bath. That's awesome. I'm pretty sure that layout works. It seems like your master bath is like extremely big. Like it's kind of a crazy big master bath. So we always want to maximize space.
And I need to come up with something that would be like, yeah, I want this house, and the ginormous bathroom might do it.
Well, what you're missing is the closet. So you kind of did this big crazy bathroom, but you didn't put a big closet in. So what we probably
I did. It's on the other side of the master bedroom.
Where at exactly?
It says walk-in.
This? Okay.
Yeah, like I've made a giant.
So you took like 3 bedrooms then. 1 second.
It left the other bedroom there, and you still have the 2 bedrooms on the top floor. So it's like a 4th, 2.5.
Okay, so that's pretty amazing actually. You might be able to get away with that. I probably wouldn't go that crazy with it. I think in the space you have here, if it's designed better, and this is going to get really expensive at $200K, you don't need to go overdo it that much, because like at $300K, like Robert's not doing this at $300K in that neighborhood. So at $200K, if we could just take this space here and split it, would be better. And the reason I like splitting this, because let me just count it: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah. So what you could easily do is split this dead down the middle. We can put a nice stand-up shower, jacuzzi tub, double vanity, and a toilet with no no jacuzzi in shower, because this costs a lot of money to do. This is like a $3 to $4K thing. You just don't need it at that price point. You'd be overdoing it. So what I would recommend is split it in half. I can make a really nice, like a double vanity. Maybe if you want to upgrade it, throw a $600 jacuzzi tub instead of like the $150 tub, and then do a really awesome towel design is how we've been doing it down there. And putting the double vanity and all that is high end for down there, by the way. So like, it's a really beautiful bathroom. And then you can make this other half a walk-in closet. And now what we can do is take this and make this back to a bedroom, because one of the big values is having a lot of bedrooms. So I like having like bedroom 1, bedroom 2 now, is you're having 3 bedrooms on this floor with a master suite, and it's still a very acceptable master suite. I've actually done this size master suite that you have right here. I've done it up to like a $900,000 home, but at a $200,000 home, believe me, you're crushing it. This is going to be beautiful. But we want to optimize space, because like the key to this house, I believe, is somebody that needs to accommodate a lot of people, or and don't have a lot of money. This is their house. You get that, right? This is someone's house who's like, I got 4 kids. I need like 5 bedrooms. So they all have their own bedroom. This is going to be their home. And so I like keeping this bedroom a little better. And then you got the 2 upstairs, which puts you at 5'3". And the upstairs didn't have a bathroom. It did have one, didn't it?
It did not. There's a drawing in there for the upstairs too, because it was just kind of weird dimensions. I thought I sent one.
Is that right there? Probably.
No, that's the basement, because the basement's real low ceilings. I don't even. There it is, the top.
I didn't plan on doing. So I do think I was going to put a bath on the third floor, by the way.
Okay.
But I don't know if you have to do that. So I think that's where and there's a whole bath on the first floor. We have a half bath on the first floor.
Right now, where it sits, it is a whole bath, but there's no room on the first floor. So unless we made that, like you said, that spare area into the bedroom.
Well, there's plenty of room. There's plenty of room. You're right. You just haven't used it. So, I mean, there's plenty of room down there. What I would do on the first floor, I know this sounds crazy, is if I redesign this with you, I could make this a 6th floor. I don't know if I would make it a 6th floor though. So what I would do instead is leave no bathroom in the upstairs and go 6-3. And how we would do that is be 2 on the third floor, 3-2 on the second floor. So that'd be 1 bathroom that the 2 bedrooms upstairs in there could be using and sharing. And then I'd do a bath and a bedroom on the first floor. And that would be it. So that would make it a 6-3. Honestly, a 6-3 is crushing it for that neighborhood. A 6-3 is a lot of beds and baths. You're only trying to get 210 for it. I don't care where you were, right? You could be like, you could put bars on the window and plexiglass on the front window, and you get a 6-3, 2,000 square feet, and that area is not that bad on that street. You see, it was a pretty nice little street, right? The street's nice.
I mean, it really was. The street stuff wasn't that bad. And
but it's when you get outside there, like people aren't. It isn't a walkable neighborhood. Let's leave it at that, right? It's not a neighborhood you're going to take and like jog around. But no one's really the jogging type that moves there. They're just trying to have a nice little home for their house, for their kids and everything. So from a rough standpoint, I think we have a rough understanding of what to do. And I think your drawings are really well done for your first time doing them. So great job on that. And, your layout totally works, just so you know. Part of what we do is like, if you decide you were going to buy this, is what we would do is really dive in even deeper than we just did. Because there's like what we're doing right now in my company is I do the layout quick like you did. And it's like very quick, like we just did together. And then I'm going to run them by Tanya, Steve, and I might look at them a couple times. By the time I settle, I'm going to have that really honed into like every little square inch of the house. I'm going to know where we have a pantry, and I'm going to be able to help you know that like, oh, Les, you don't need dead space over there for that living room in that other dead space that you call just like regular. That could be better off to be a bedroom, an office, anything, right? Because it's another room, and just virtually just having dead space don't really help you, but there's another room that could be done there. So we'd want to figure out the details of it, right? Where we start getting pantries. Like people love like big kitchens, pantries, like great rooms. They like a lot of bedrooms is the play I was going to go for there, because it's set up nicely to have a lot of bedrooms. So I thought that would be an awesome way for someone. 200, if you need 6-3 in that neighborhood, that's $300K, just so you know. Like a 2,000 square foot house with 6-3 in it is going to be high 2s, low 300,000s in that neighborhood. So we're literally talking about them being able to get it for 210. My guess,
and that's just because of the size difference, right? Because it's only a 1,500 square foot as opposed, because I was looking at that.
I think it's 2,000 square feet, and I think they're not counting the third floor, is what I'm guessing, because I'm thinking it's actually, when I measured it, it came up to almost 2,000 square feet. So I'm thinking they're not counting the third floor, which is not uncommon. I've seen them do that before. So no, the ones that are bigger that cost more would be on quieter streets, not with row homes, and might be bigger in square footage. So the ones that are generally 6-3 are usually like 2,500 to 3,000 square feet.
Right.
So the fact you can get 6-3 into this house, right, just well put together, it means you'd be comparable to them. So if someone's like, I need a 6-3, right, or I'd like to have 5 or 6 bedrooms, well, guess what? That ain't going to be nobody else. There's no one else going to be fully renovated and look beautiful for $210,000. It's just going to be less. You're the only game in town. Right. And the row homes across the street, they're selling for 160. So that tells me 160, 165. So that tells me that people are willing to buy 1,000 square foot row home for 165. I have no doubt to buy a house that's double the size, double the room for just 50K more. So sometimes these are hard things to guess, but I've made a lot of money over my life knowing this kind of stuff. I'm also knowing that like what better price you are than everyone else. So this is not something that everyone would pick up, but this is how I get deals, because I can see through this stuff, and I know. So that one, you're priced really well. I have no doubt with an optimal layout or really good design, I have no doubt that you would crush it with this house. And we put 75K in work, but that was mostly because the house does need a decent amount of work, but you're not going to be doing the basement. If you're doing the basement, it would end up probably being 85 or 90.
Right. I mean, all that you got to you got to sheetrock the whole house. All that plaster's got to come out and get replaced, right? Or
I'd like to see the video before I say that. I don't like ever saying everything needs to be replaced because
right.
usually I'm all about replacing what you need and not everything. So and I've never seen too many houses where I got to do everything. I often can save a room here or a room there. You know, it's just everything counts. So and if you do, the next thing is, can you save trim and doors? Often the answer is yes, you can save trim and doors. So I'm able to really, like an old house like that, I can help you get real detailed about what to do and what not to do. So when I did the budget, I don't see many houses personally, but I've seen this one personally because Tanya usually goes and sees them and FaceTimes me. But we were out and about together looking at another house that we're doing not far from there. And we just went and seen that while we were there because I seen it on HUD. And I'm like, this looks like a great deal because usually we pay a lot more in this neighborhood for those. As we're generally buying those from like 75 to 100 usually is what we're paying for a house that size and location. And we've seen the townhouse across the street. We're like, okay, well, that's why it's a better deal. So we're like every time we don't just pass, we're like, okay, what price would it easily sell at? And we decided 205 or 210 was that number, and that it's easily going to sell. And every house I put on the market easily sells because of how I price them. So I think when you're sitting at a 6.3 and you're priced really well, I have no doubt you'll sell. And plus, you're going to be coming into a spring market, so this is a perfect time to buy this house.
Right on, right on. I feel pretty good about it. I do feel excited. I'm glad the drawings are at least kind of similar to what you had.
Yeah, they're pretty close. I mean, I mean, I'll optimize a few things with you, and obviously, like anything I do for all students is let you guys get in here. And if you want Tanya, you can hire her for really cheap to do like a complete design for you if you want to do that on your first house. And a lot of people are doing that, and then just using it on additional houses in the future. And she'll lay out every inch of it in the drawing. She'll walk it, you know, get all the stuff like designed for you and put together. Same thing she does for me. I actually pay her to do it for me. It's how she makes a living. So you know, she doesn't do it for anyone but students, and she only does like 2 a month. I think she just did one for Ken. She's doing one for Ken now. So I can't let her do more than 2 a month. She wouldn't have any time to do mine. I'd have to fire her. So I'm just like, I told her, like, I don't mind if you do it for students because it'd be really helpful for them, but like 2 a month. So I think she's already got one this month. So she probably do one more because otherwise I would be like, I'd be waiting on my stuff that I need for my houses. So, and I pay her a lot more than just what I pay her for doing those houses. So if you need that help, she can do that for you. I think it would be a great house where you can actually add a lot of sizzle features and things to make it sell. That's something you can consider. So I've looked at this thoroughly myself personally, so there's no real holes in what I've seen. I have complete confidence you can do it for 75. I have complete confidence that it'll sell for the money. The only thing, if I wholesale to you, obviously I'll be listing it for you on the back end because that's part of the wholesale. Because I actually have to. The weird part of this story is I won the bid on this, and because I did one thing wrong, they bumped me out of the bid and I lost the deal. That's why I was like, dude, I'm checking on something, because they ended up taking the deal from me and they gave it to the backup bidder. The good news is the backup bidder was my brother, so we're all good. He gave it back to me, so we're all good, and I got it back. So I was like, for $1,000 less too, by the way. But I gotta split anything I make with you. I gotta split with him, and then still gotta pay Tanya for finding it for me. So I'm kind of like, okay, whatever. But it's all good. You know, I can sell it to you for the same price I told you. I got the house now again, so I'm happy because I was getting a little butthurt because they basically told me I had to put it in my personal name. And then eventually I was like, okay, I'll put it in my personal name, even though I would have had to double settle it to sell it to you. But I'm like, that sucks, right? I have to put it in my personal name. I have to actually double settle it. And they told me it'd be $4K to double settle it. So I'm like, that sucks because I barely be even paid Tanya, right? I actually be losing $500 to sell it to you. Then they, like, when I agreed to it, I'm like, I don't care. I'll just lose the $500. That way I can sell it if Les wants it. If not, I'll just break the price $500 more for anyone else. Well, then they were like, no, you're out now. I'm like, well, what does that mean? I said, yes. So HUD's very hard to deal with. Like they're very like either do it their way or it's the highway. So usually I don't have any problems. This time I had it, and I got very fortunate. My brother was the backup bidder. So yes, the deal's still alive. I have it. I'm sending the deposit for it today. They now gave it back to me under a new name, new alias. Essentially, I got it under a new name. So we're all solid.
Okay.
So if you want it, let me know. You got it under contract like Friday, so it'll be 30 days from Friday's settlement. And I would say if it's something you want, you know, we can talk offline a little more about any details. If there's anything you're concerned about, let's talk offline and just I'll help you walk through it and make sure you feel comfortable with it. You want to be 100% certain. There won't be many deals that I can sign off on and say like this is a good deal. So I mean that because I've seen this personally, I ran all the numbers because I'm buying this myself. Likely, if no one else buys it, if a student doesn't take it, I probably won't put this out to the general public.
No, I won't. I mean, I'm interested for sure at this point. I've seen it myself. I've been there.
Cool. Well, then I would say the next step for you is
has to happen.
you're okay. Well, let's talk offline. Give me a text whenever you're, and we'll talk offline, and I'll walk you through the details of who you want to talk to, just to make sure you're all good. Before we sign anything for me selling it to you, I just want to take a couple extra additional steps to make sure you have everything in line and you're good to go. Because at some point we have a deposit up, so you'd have to give us a non-refundable deposit. I want to make sure you're 100% before you do that. Okay. That
Right
way it's
on.
not, there's nothing we've missed. I've talked to you before about this, so I'm sure we're good because you had a lot in place. We just want to make sure if there's nothing we're missing. So I'll talk to you a little more about it later. Also, for anyone else who's looking for a deal, if Samira still has it for sales, her deal actually looked pretty solid. I looked at it. I didn't see it personally. I just seen the pics and looked at the comps and all that. It actually looked like a reasonably good deal. I think Peter looked at it. Anyone else who might be looking for one, I'd suggest taking a look at it if there's anyone on here looking for something. Just, anytime there's a decent deal, I'll tell you. If you don't hear me talking about it, then that's up to you. But if I've blessed it and said I've seen it and I like it, I'm pretty big about, being like very honorable about this stuff. If there's anything I'm not sure about, I'll be upfront with you because we're very abundant in this group. There's no problem to find deals, right? We don't need you to buy anything that sucks or that's iffy. So if I tell you I like the house, I personally would buy it. You have risk like you do in any flip, but I'm telling you that based on everything I've seen, I think the risk is low and I feel really comfortable. So I'm right most of the time when I say that. And these days I'm right really a lot, almost all the time. Just because over time I've gotten better at being, right more often. So you get that. And then, good luck with that. Les, let me know. And then any other questions before we jump off, let me know. Some good stuff today. We have some great contractor stuff, a deal, like Les's layout is exactly what you should do when you're looking at something that you can buy. So Les went and did the drawing, which I wouldn't recommend everyone doing if it's like something you're not sure about. But I like that Les did it when I send you a deal and I tell you can get it for X. And that's a great time to do a drawing, great time to get real detailed because you know that if you come to me and I told you can get it for that price and I gave you time to go see it, then I'll be, I'll keep my word and it won't go anywhere else. I won't offer it to anyone else. I won't do any of that. So you have time to do the drawing and really get detailed. But you also should ask me if I offer it. Often I probably have the drawing in a video and everything else usually. Not always, but most of the time I do. Because, in general, that's what I do. The reason I don't think I have a drawing on this is the only reason I don't ever have a drawing is if I see it. Because I won't do the drawing. But if it goes through my system, like my people see it and it'll have everything it needs. The only time the system doesn't get followed is when Mike goes and sees something. I don't do drawings and all that because I can do the drawing in my head, essentially. I can walk through and know, like, this is solid. I see I got everything I need to put everything where I need. When I walked through that house, it was abundant in space. I walked through there thinking like, okay, cool. We got more than enough space to do everything we need to do to make this house sell quickly. So I was very impressed with the space. Actually, one of the things I loved about it, why I decided to buy it, was how impressed I was with how much space it had. So that I know for a fact it's not 1,500 because I did measure with my tape measure and count it all up with Tanya. And honestly, 6 bedrooms, 3 baths, as big as that house is, there's no way you can fit 6 bedrooms, 3 baths in a 1,500 square foot house without a finished basement. It just don't even technically
having that attic finished like that and all the way up it's awesome. It is. There's a lot of room.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure that's the case. That's probably another 400 or 500 square feet because we came up with 19 something is what we thought it was. So that was actually why I picked it when I seen it. And I was like, this looks like it has a 3rd floor and it says it's only 15, but it looks way bigger than 15. Like, this house is huge. And so when we went out there, we were like, yep, this is way bigger than 15. So a lot of people were seeing 1,500. They're seeing,
Right.
Thinking like, okay, well, that's only worth like 220. But if it's more like 2,000, it's worth a lot more. Off a side street, 6 bedroom, 3 bath, 2,000 square foot's worth like 240, 250. On this particular street, I'm putting it 210 to be safe. But we always have upward mobility, so we never know. We might get some people to fight over it. Spring's always a great time for that market, by the way. Spring things do a lot better.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, then we will get together offline. You have your meeting tonight, right, though?
No, I don't have a meeting tonight.
Okay, cool. So then I will give you a call a little bit later this evening then.
Yeah, feel free to call me then. I think oh no, I do have a 5:30 meeting. I'm sorry. So you're right. I have 5:30 call for the higher level group. So
Okay.
you can call me after that if you want. I'll be available. Just give me a text or something. And but I have the meetup is next Monday for anyone who wants to come. We do have a meetup. We're talking about a different subject, and so if you guys want to come hang out, whatever, it's awesome. We might do I don't know. We might do like a late dinner afterwards. So I don't know. We'll figure out whatever you guys want to do. We need to start having some dinners together, man, because in Costa Rica, we had a lot of fun like hanging out with each other. And I realize how much we don't do that here. So I don't know if everybody's up for it, but if you guys want to go do some stuff and, you don't have any friends, I don't know. I could be your friend or anybody else in the group. No, I don't know. I'm just saying. Because man,
I'm down to eat. I'm always down.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll figure some stuff out. We should get some group activities to do every once in a while. It would just be a lot of fun. I found that it's great fun, like doing stuff with other people you have a lot in common with. And Costa Rica, it was a great reminder of that. I didn't even tell you guys. You'll see some video of it, but we did a 10 waterfall hike, and it was super scary, like crazy scary. And it looked like it was just a hike. You were just going to walk through some trails and see some waterfalls. Well, no, we actually had to climb up every waterfall. So we were climbing up waterfalls. Some were 35, 40 foot tall, straight up with ropes you had to climb up with no harness, anything. Like they just put some paint on a rock and like, half your foot with it on it. And I don't know. I was like, yeah, I was pretty afraid. I'm not going to lie. It was scary, but once we did it, it was so much fun because we climbed up into like Jurassic Park looking part of Costa Rica. It was like rainforest with waterfalls coming. We were in the most beautiful stuff that you couldn't get to otherwise. Like you had to climb up all these waterfalls to get to it. That was the only way you could reach this part of the forest. And it was pretty amazing. I ain't gonna lie, but scary, like way up. We were way up in the air. And yeah, anyhow, but we were climbing up them. We would get to swim in them. They had a natural where you could drink water coming out of the mountain. It was just like squirting out the side of the mountain. You could it was like spring water coming from the mountain. They had us eating leaves and stuff from the, like edible leaves that tasted really amazing. And it was kind of cool up there, man. I have to say, it was neat. And glad I wasn't too afraid and I actually did it because otherwise I would have missed out big time. And it took a group of people I didn't want to look like a punk in front of. So I'm glad I had everybody with me because if I was by myself or with Tanya, I'd be like, nah, I'm all right. I needed a bunch of people I didn't want to make fun of me. So I actually followed through with it. So peer pressure works, man. It works for good things too. So awesome, everyone. I will see you on Thursday, and we'll talk some more. Great call today. And, everybody keep working on all the cool stuff you're working on. And I'll let you know once we schedule some additional calls for the contractor training. We're working on that this week, and we're going to start filling them in. And so there's going to be quite a bit of calls between this month, next month, and probably part of January. So we're going to have a lot of cool stuff. Anything you can come up with that you want to learn or, that's not in the curriculum, please let me know, and I'll make sure we add it, okay? Everybody have a great couple days. Talk to you on Thursday.